Yeah, it's bounced all the way up to about 170 now.
Yep.
But I mean, I can't imagine. Because this is for not what this is for from last September to December.
Yes.
I don't think crypto was doing that. That's like when there was no volume on Bitcoin.
It doesn't matter what they say. It really doesn't. And you can look at the overnight reports from last night as evidence.
Well, I mean,
right?
that was it. I mean, if you're reporting into this mess, like I was watching Baba this morning when they reported, I'm like, is anything going to hold up in this mess? Is anything going to hold up? I mean, who's going to want to be long anything pre-market into this mess? It's tough. The earnings really matter here. To a certain extent, they do. You want to focus on the names that are strong, but
yeah, it's really difficult to hear Mike right now because we are hearing ourselves piped in. There we go. Thank you, Rohan. No, it wasn't you, Mike, but we were hearing ourselves piped into our own ears.
That's always fun.
Yeah, it's difficult to hear what you were saying. I have no idea what you just said, by the way.
Who wants to be long? Who wanted to be in long in this market this morning on anything like Baba? Who would want to be involved in that this morning, even though the report looked
wait. I have an answer to that question. Who wanted to be long Baba this morning? That guy.
Well, like I said, I would buy some shares like for the long term if it gets down to $100. Like, I don't know.
I would not touch Chinese companies here other than a day trade. Right. I've been saying that for a while, and I will continue to pound the table on that.
And you're right. Although I have to make a quick correction. Bitcoin hit an all-time high that quarter, so maybe there was a lot of vol. I mean, it came quickly down, but on November 8th, 2021. Is when Bitcoin got up to 67,000. So maybe it's a good. Maybe Coinbase is going to report a good quarter. Maybe. And I disagree with you, Spencer. I think it does matter what they say.
I just want to acknowledge real fast that we are live.
Triggers margin calls as it cuts Russians bonds. There you go. This could get some problems today.
I saw a chart of Ukrainian sovereign bonds, and it was a 50% crash today.
Wait, UBS is
triggering margin calls. Yep.
Yeah, there's probably gonna be more than a few of those.
I hope Robinhood doesn't start doing that.
real fast. I just want to acknowledge. I want to acknowledge that we are live on our stream of the Joe Biden press conference. Obviously, he's not speaking right now. When he does speak, we will transition over to that, so you won't have to listen to us anymore. But we are here on Benzinga Live, just kind of talking through the markets with the options Mike and trying to make sense of all this. It's been a tale of two markets today. The pre-market was one thing, and everything since the open is entirely different.
And now's the time to watch the rest of this afternoon, because margin calls will start going off between now and just before 3. I think the most important thing today is how we close. Does the market close strong at the highs, or do we come way off the highs and come way back down again, right?
I agree with you.
And we're going to get some margin calls today. You can already see the market reacting to that UBS news here and just pulling back on it. So expect to see some of that.
I agree with you. The close is critical.
Yeah,
it's critical. The open is one thing. The intraday is one thing. The close is completely different. So Correct. It's a different beast. Options Mike, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. We appreciate your point of view, even if it's a little bit different than especially because it's a little bit different than ours.
I could all be wrong.
Different than yours.
Well, no. I'm still in if I'm not mistaken, Mike, you are looking to take some longs.
Yeah, I'm looking here. Maybe not today. Maybe wait tomorrow to see how the market reacts overnight. See what kind of comes in. But I'm looking to start. But I'm not taking options long term here. I'm taking small pieces of stock at this point, because options are too. They get hurt. You're not going to get them back. Stock, I can sit in. These are long-term investments, by the way. I'm not talking about taking.
I'm more on Mike's side, where I'm more bullish right now. Looking at past data, where these bottoms have often come in. Like Mike said, the market does not like uncertainty. Now we're certain. We're certain Russia's invading Ukraine. What we're not certain about is what that entails for other countries. Is NATO going to get involved? Is China going to invade Taiwan? And we can speculate on that all we want, but we don't know. But history will show us.
Well, we better hope that NATO doesn't get involved.
Exactly.
Then we're all in a lot of trouble.
Exactly. And that's my point too. Like, I'd rather be long knowing that if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, because we're going into a world war and we're going to shit anyway. It's not going to matter if I'm holding stocks or cash. But I'm in a little bit of a different risk position than a lot of people.
No, I don't think you are, actually. I think you and I, and maybe even Mike, we're all relatively close to the same age, and I think we're all has similar time horizons here, right? And that gets at the question I wanted to get up earlier, which was like, what do you do? Well, we disagree on what to do in the short term, but in the long term, I think we're all on the same page here, right? I'm not going to cash right now. I'm not selling all my stocks.
I'm looking to start putting more money to work into this.
All right.
But again, quality companies, and that's the one thing. Everybody's like, oh, I want to buy a firm because it's cheap. You know, a firm may be one of those companies that doesn't survive this mess. They're hemorrhaging money so fast, right?
Okay, that's a good point. There's a lot, and let's just define the term quality for a second. Okay, there's a few different ways to go about it. Typically, when you hear the word quality, usually that refers to the quality factor. There is an entire school of investing called factor investing, where you invest in companies or in stocks that display a specific factor, whether it's growth or value, or it's factor equals variable. That's all that means, variable. So quality is a factor, and there are ways to define quality. The easiest way to find quality stocks, in my opinion, is to search for quote unquote quality ETFs that hold quality stocks, and go look at what they hold. Go look at the holdings.
Typically, they're very profitable. They have a dividend. A lot of them, right? They may do buybacks. I'm not just saying you want to focus there, but you're looking for names that are profitable in this market and that are improving profitability in this market. A name like names
that
don't losing more and more money every quarter. It's just not
names that have positive EBITDA, names that profitability, like you said, names that their top line revenue is growing, even if they don't have bottom line earnings. Is it trending in the right direction? Right.
Palantir, for example, that report, while they got killed on it, they're going in the right direction. They're starting to turn a profit. They're growing. They're growing up. That's not a horrific name to look at. I wouldn't suggest it here, but it's not a horrific name to go looking at.
Yes. Do they have a price to earnings ratio? Is it 100 or is it 12?
Yeah.
Right. There's a big difference there. What other things do you want to look at? You want to look at?
I like price to sales.
Price to sales. Is it 3 or is it
30?
30.
Right. And something else. Look at how much cash they have on hand versus how much debt they have. Because a company that has massive debt with little amounts of cash on hand, they have problems. You know, Boeing, for example, is running out of cash. They're going to have to do something to raise more money because they're still losing money.
You know who's not running out of cash?
Berkshire Hathaway?
Apple.
Oh, Apple.
Damn. I should have known you were going to say that.
Apple has more cash. I think Warren Buffett said Apple has more cash than God on his balance sheet.
All right. Well, here, let's check right now. We can check in Benzinga Pro.
Apple. Can you pull up the screen?
Yeah, Apple has. Yeah, let me pull up my Pro right now.
200 billion.
They always get criticized. Apple gets so much heat for stockpiling
options.
cash.
Mike, have you checked out the Carl Icahn?
$37 billion in cash.
Carl Icahn documentary on HBO?
No, I have not seen that yet.
I think one of the things they talked about was Carl Icahn invested in Apple and forced the board to do a share buyback program.
Well, he did. That was a while ago.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen it.
Oh, you have? Oh, that's right.
No. It's on my. I dreamt about it, but I haven't seen it yet. So
I watched it last night, but I'll admit I was like on Twitter following the war news more. I was trying to like distract myself.
Wait.
I know. I couldn't sleep at all last night. I couldn't get off. It was so bad because I knew I was like, this is doing nothing. It's not productive. It's not whatever. But I couldn't put my phone down getting off Twitter.
All right. So apparently the Biden speech was just delayed by an hour until 1:30. So those of you watching us on that stream, you're going to be stuck watching us for another hour or come back.
You can come into our stream. The chat's more fun because we can interact with the chat. Maybe can we drop the link to the stream?
I'm dropping the link to everyone in.
I don't know how many people are there.
I'm going to drop the link to the Joe Biden to our show into the Joe Biden show.
This is so confusing.
Chat.
I'm sorry,
it's
Mike.
very confusing. We have two shows happening at the same time.
David said, "Did you answer me?" David, what was your question?
I don't know.
I might have missed it. I'll look back for it for a sec.
All right.
Also, shout out Ashton in the chat. Thank you for the follow on Twitter. If anyone else follows me on Twitter,
come on, man.
What?
I don't know.
I'll follow back.
All right. I'm putting the link in the chat right now for our current show. Options, Mike. We appreciate you hanging out with us on this momentous day, and
Oh, okay. Here's David's question.
Stay green out
if
there.
I bought $5,000 in Apple and let it sit for 2 years at a quarterly dividend yield, would I make money when I withdraw the money in 2 years? It depends on what Apple's stock does.
Wait, what was the question? Sorry. Read again. It's on the screen.
Yeah.
I'm doing like 10 things at once right now. So.
And also, I mean, Apple does have a dividend, but it's not really a dividend stock. Like the dividend's not as large. Yeah. But with that said, I mean, here's the thing with dividend investing. If you're always looking for companies that are giving dividends, a lot of times you'll miss out on companies like Apple and Microsoft that when they're in their growth stage, don't do dividends. So I like to have a mix. I have a few stocks that have dividends that I like. Chevron has a really good one, and I was in that for the oil trade. But like Mike said, I've kind of scaled my position on that. Let me see some other.
Wait, I'm still trying to pull it up because
oil trade works is if you see like a major disruption where something gets blown up and that that just they can't get oil out or something along those lines.
There's a lot of big financial, like JP Morgan, Bank of America, they'll offer dividends. I like Blackstone.
Okay, so wait, just to answer David's question. So David, there's two things you want to pay attention to here. There's the return on the stock, and there's a total return, which is the stock's performance plus whatever dividends you get, right? Your performance will mostly depend on what Apple's stock does. But whatever Apple stock does, you'll get a boost by receiving the dividend. It doesn't mean you're guaranteed to make
Apple money. Is what 22 cents. 22 cents last quarter. I mean, that's just not enough. I mean, that's not enough reason for me to get involved in Apple as a stock. A 22-cent dividend on a $150 stock.
If you're buying Apple purely because of the dividend, think again. There are other reasons to buy Apple. The dividend is not one of them. If you were buying
Chevron for the dividend, I would understand that. They have a $1.42 dividend on a $130 stock, right?
Right. And
that's more along the lines what you're looking for.
Yeah, right? I will say, and this is not investment advice, but if you put $5,000 into Apple, the odds that it's higher 2 years later, historically, have been pretty good. Save 2000 crash and 2008 crash, but yeah.
I was just looking at Walmart chart because they always raise their dividend. I mean, that great report has been sold off and then some. I mean, that's just the thing, right? Walmart comes out with a good report a couple of days ago. Oh, you know which company I like? I forgot to bring up Macy's. I'm very interested in Macy's here.
Pull up that chart right now. Didn't they just report? They just reported.
Fabulous quarter. Fabulous quarter. They're even doing a big buyback. They've turned it around. The market's throwing a hissy fit because they were refusing to spin off their e-commerce. Well, they know their business better than anybody else. Why? The market wants them to spin off the good stuff and then let all the bad stuff go die under M, right? So you have a separate company. But Macy's is like, no, it's an integral part of our business. They're smart. They have a lot of real estate that they own. Macy's is a nice turnaround story. I think it's actually pretty good here. The last 2 quarters have been great in it.
I can't own Macy's only because I worked at a Macy's and it was a shit show of a job and a shit show of a store. So for that reason and that reason alone, I'm out of Macy's. So we have some questions in the chat that about specific stocks. I guess someone asked about Palantir. I was long Palantir for a swing. I'm out now. I bought it yesterday on this show. I sold it 2 hours ago. But I don't know, frankly. I haven't looked. I don't know what the financials are on Palantir. I haven't looked at the numbers. I will say it is a growth play, and growth plays are super out of favor. I don't know what this company does, frankly, and that in and of itself is a red flag if you're looking at the stock from a long term. If you know what they do, then great. I don't understand. I know they do like big data analysis for the CIA, but that is not descriptive enough for me to get to understand it. So I don't know. I don't know if Mike. I don't know if you have an opinion on that.
I own Palantir. I'm very underwater on them. Full disclosure. And I'm still holding it because I actually really like the company. They're a software company, right? And you always go and just look at their description, right? They develop platforms for intelligence community in the United States. They're now doing this with consumers. And that's why I like them, because their consumer business is growing about 140% quarter over quarter right now. I think it was 140 year over year there, which is great because that's going to drive the profits in the company. And the bigger they get, the more they're going to get involved. And by the way, where everybody else was buying Bitcoin as a hedge. Remember Tesla and everybody? Guess what they bought?
What?
Gold.
Ethereum? Oh, I remember that. Right.
Yeah, they bought gold.
Oh yeah. But to me, that was like a red flag to me, because if you have a lot of money if you have $50 million, which is how much gold they bought, I would rather see the company do something that's gonna, help propel their company instead of just buying gold. I mean, I guess if you have a huge corporate treasury, but to me, I'd rather
they're sitting on $2.5 billion in cash.
Okay, so yeah, 50 million is nothing for them,
right? With 260 million in debt, they are in fabulous shape when it comes along that line. They did their direct offering. Remember, they weren't an IPO; they were direct offering, so they have no support from the investment banks, and they haven't done they have never done, like all the other companies did, additional offerings, right, to raise capital. They haven't had to raise capital since then. So they're a good company. They're a good company. They just need time, a lot of time.
Why do companies choose to carry a certain amount of debt even if they have more cash on the balance sheet and they could
interest rates are so cheap it costs them nothing right now, and that's why they've been doing it.
Did your dad always tell you never buy when you need to, buy when you are not borrow, never borrow when you need to, borrow when you can? My dad always said never borrow when you need to, borrow when you can. Interest rates are, to Mike's point, you borrow money because you can, because interest rates are so freaking low. Oh, they're right. They're going to increase here.
No, mine just told me it's not cheating unless you're married.
There we go.
I'm just kidding.
All right, options, Mike. A pleasure as always, thanks, man. Have a good one.
You guys too. Take care. Right. Everybody, be careful out there, huh?
All right. Yeah, that's yeah. Be careful, markets or otherwise. Screw the markets. Be careful if you're somewhere that is not safe. And gosh, I mean, we have people that watch our show. Wait, why are we on the TV?
Our technical issues today have
been... our producers left us. They went to get lunch.
Yeah, but it's Jimmy John, so it's freaky fast. So they should be back any second. This is not brought to you by Jimmy John's, by the way.
We have two producers, and they've walked away.
How about this for some positivity? There's the Mr. Rogers quote. He says, in tough times, there are always people helping. Look for the helpers. I don't know who that is right now. Some humanitarian.
What about the famous quote that was like, there are years when nothing happens, and there are weeks when years happen.
Okay.
Right.
What about Warren Buffett? I think he said the markets will recover, people will never come back to life. Just something to keep in mind today.
I never heard that before.
Did
you make that up?
I saw it on Twitter attributed to Warren Buffett. If he said it or not, I'm unclear. Yeah. But let me try to fact check that.
I think Mark Twain said that. Anyway, that was a joke. Yeah, it's 12:30 now, so Joe Biden's going to speak. Supposed to speak at around 1:30 Eastern time. We will be streaming that. If you're watching the Joe Biden stream, you'll get that feed. If you're not, then you won't get it on this stream here. We have a few guests lined up here. We're going to be bringing on Dan Pipitone and Steven Johnson from Trade Zero on in a half hour. We're going to do a trivia segment all about short selling. Going to be at 1 o'clock Eastern. And then at 1:30, we'll be joined by Robert Machinist, the CEO of Troika Media Group. So, Shelly, how many quotes do we know? We know a lot.
Okay, so here, let me share my screen real quick.
Winners get the trees, losers get the bushes. That's a new one, but I like it. Thanks, Proton. It's funny.
This is just on.
What screen are we sharing right now? What is this?
This is Reddit. It says markets will recover, people will stay dead forever. Warren Buffett. So I don't know if it's true or not. It was just on Reddit.
I think he also said, I think this is true. Actually, I think that's true. What's on the screen there? I think he actually did say that.
But from what I did watch from the Carl Icahn documentary, you gotta watch it.
I will watch it. I will watch it.
I didn't even realize, I guess, the whole idea of being like, because he wasn't necessarily like hostile share takeover. He was just getting enough shares to get a seat at the board and then making whatever happen.
Did he talk about the time where he like fired an entire building worth of employees?
At an airline, the
guy's a savage.
He was like striking with the whole of all the flight attendants of the airline, but he didn't fire them. They were just striking.
I think it was a different company. He like what I don't know what the company was. He's talked about it before. How he had some board seats at this company, and was like, what does everyone in this building do? And no one could tell him, so he like fired everyone. I'll check it out this today, tomorrow, or this weekend. I promise. Although, oh look, our producers are back. Welcome back, producers. Thanks for leaving us.
Spencer's being very passive aggressive today.
I think
it's the war bringing it out. No.
I mean, we're running 2 streams right now, and they all decide to leave. I don't know what.
I haven't finished. I honestly, I'm probably gonna rewatch the whole Icon documentary tonight because I was, like I said, more distracted by everything going on.
That's what I was trying to say before our producers rudely interrupted me. But yes, I'm distracted by the world events, and I will say this: I have a love-hate relationship with social media. This days like today, yesterday, last night are moments where you live. You're like, thank the Lord for social media, right? Because if not for Twitter and Reddit, which are my platforms of choice, I wouldn't see. There's so much more going on than any one news platform can possibly deliver to you. So much more videos, firsthand accounts, pictures. I live for that stuff. So thank God for social media today, because it's doing its job right now. I think some days I really, really hate social media and the harm it's caused, but that day is not today. You agree?
I agree to an extent. I mean, if we do get like full-fledged war, I doubt being able to watch everything on Twitter and TikTok will be great for young people throughout the world. The effects of that, like this will, like it was, I don't know. Like Vietnam was the first time there was a big war where we had TVs
on TV, yeah.
And it was like a big deal of how it shaped the perception of the war and everything. And social media is like that times 10.
Yep, it's true.
And so,
but I'd rather have it than not have it.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, for the citizen journalism aspect of it, like people being able to report in real time what they're seeing, what they've seen. Yeah, that aspect of it is truly
the visuals are unbelievable. Did you see even on CNN this morning, they were doing a live shot? It was like this happened like 6-7 a.m. our time, doing a live shot, and the tanks just started rolling by on the street during the live shot. And that was on TV, but that is a fraction of what is going on out there. There's so much more. I was, just looking at Twitter and Reddit last night, just blown away by the firsthand accounts. And that's the kind of stuff that makes me not want to care or give a crap about the market, because the people and what's going on there is to me way more important. So I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to walk a line between being very concerned and also, like, in terms of my investing, like staying in the course. I remain steadfast in my belief that investing is the best way for the average person to get rich over the long term. And yet not all stocks come back. There are a lot of stocks that are not going to come back from this. We were talking about Skills this morning, Aaron, you and I. Maybe it was yesterday. I don't remember. SKLZ. How is Skills doing this morning? Let's bring up the chart.
Oh, also yesterday.
Let's bring up Benzinga Pro. It was $2 this morning. What is it now? SKLZ. It was what, 45 a year ago? It was $2 this morning, and now it's so it's still $2. I mean, a stock like that. Whoops. Stock like that. I mean, it's an uphill battle to get back to where you were, and there was a lot of stocks that looked like this. A lot of charts that looked just horrible. Like Fubo had earnings overnight. I don't even know what the earnings were. I don't think it matters what the earnings were. Look at this Fubo chart. From 60 to 7 in 13 months.
And it was also down 18% pre-market and came back.
There we go. I mean, all the charts look like this. All the growth charts look the same. So, yeah, you're gonna have to take a moment if you want to come in buying. Like at a certain point, and this is the conversation we had about Robinhood when they had they reported earnings a month ago, right? And it was really, really bad, and they had that huge gap down. And you're like, well, at a certain point, does it become attractive? Does it become a takeover target at 7? Sure, maybe. But buying something off the hope that it gets bought is not a great investing strategy.
Well, don't tell that to Carl Icahn.
You and I don't have the capital that Carl Icahn does.
I don't understand. That was fresh in my mind. The whole part of his whole strategy was finding companies that would become takeover targets and then force them to sell the deal after he got in and made a lot of money.
All right, Matt P in the Joe Biden stream is asking, would you buy Tesla at these prices? I have been wrong every which way on Tesla. When it goes down, or when I think it's going up, it goes down. When I think it's going down, it goes up. I am very hesitant to give my opinion on this company and the stock. I do own the stock via a couple of funds. I own the S&P 500, so I own Tesla there, and I also own some ARKW, which is one of Kathy Wood's funds. I got a small piece of that and getting smaller. So I own Tesla twice, but I don't know. I mean, the stock is so disconnected from reality. Maybe Mike's point is valid that it is more connected. Or was it Mike or someone else that said it? Ever since it joined the S&P, it moves more logically. Maybe that's true.
Yeah, but my point was that it still is more volatile than that. I mean, we saw that yesterday. It was down like 7% yesterday. The overall market wasn't down 7% yesterday.
Yeah.
But I hear you, Spencer, about the trying to stay in the middle here of being worried, rightfully so, but understanding. I think it's important to remember, both in terms of market and just overall human history. I mean, there are always invasions and conflicts going on. I will be really, really worried if it looks like to the point where other world powers, including the U.S., are getting involved, and it looks like it has, and China's doing something with Taiwan. I mean, that's right now. I'm cautiously optimistic. If it stays, if everything stays put right now, like we were saying with Mike, the market likes knowing things. Now we know that Russia's invading Ukraine. It was unknown for a while. So we're just got to wait and see what happens with this. I don't know what's going to happen. That's when I'm going to be really, really worried. But it's nothing new. This is nothing new. Invasions.
Yeah. There's always going to be a reason to be fearful, whether it's a geopolitical event, whether it's someone saying there's a bubble on a specific asset. I think if you can move past it, if you can look past it, you should look past it for the long-term stuff. But again, it's not always that easy. So it's 12:40 right now. We are going to be doing again short selling trivia with Trade Zero at 1:00, and I do see our 1:30 guest is going to be Robert Machinist from Troika Media. Someone keeps asking about Airbnb. I own this stock. Okay.
Oh, I haven't looked at this one.
I own Airbnb for the long term. So it's difficult for me to say what you should do, because I'm in this from, where am I in Airbnb? I think I'm in it from is it the 140s? I think I'm in it from the 140s or maybe the 160s. I'll be honest with you guys. I have multiple accounts, and I really try hard not to pay attention, not to micromanage those accounts and overtrade them. So I tend to, once I buy something, I kind of put it out of sight, out of mind, and I'm not super active in my Fidelity accounts all the time. I think I'm in Airbnb from the 140s. So it's difficult for me to give an unbiased opinion here, because obviously I'm long the stock and I want it to go higher. But I am in this thing for more than a trade. This is like a longer term swing. I've had this. I only had Airbnb for only had it for a couple of months.
What about this one you brought up yesterday?
Yeah,
DraftKings.
Again, I
don't hear me out on this catalyst.
Okay, go.
If things escalate and we get to a status, or we get to a point where we do need to have another drafting in the United States, would they use DraftKings?
Dude, how high are you right now? I'm joking, but what? What are you talking about?
It'd be a perfect. DraftKings could step in and say, "Hey, we got."
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I don't know how you buy any stock with this much unknown. Any stock for the short term, for the short term. Long term is a different story.
I kind of disagree. I'm more on options Mike's side. There are. I mean, and part of that is me saying the downside here is shit really hitting the fan, and then it's not going to matter to me what stocks I hold or what cash I have because we'll all
and I've been trying to think.
See, thank you, Dan.
Okay. But back to the Airbnb for a second. So again, I own this thing, and the idea by my position here is I'm going to hold this thing for more than a year, and I've only had it for a few months. So I'm going to keep holding Airbnb through this. I don't own that. I only own like a half dozen stocks, right? And this is one of them. But it's a longer term swing position, and I'm not selling it. Would I have to reassess if we got down below like the 130s? Maybe I'd reassess then. Maybe, honest to God. I don't have any stop losses here. It's not a trade on micromanaging. But I mean, I like the company from a story point of view. It is simultaneously a reopening and a stay-at-home play. Not that stay-at-home plays are irrelevant anymore. That trade has moved on as we've sort of as new COVID cases have come back down to earth, and we've all kind of moved off of that narrative a little bit. But the reopening trade's been a hot trade, not this week, but in the last couple of weeks, and this is a reopening trade. You can see that chart right there. As far as the financials are concerned, here, let's just go to the financials tab real fast on Airbnb. Actually, no, let's do this. Let's go look at the earnings, because I want to see. Again, we talked about, are your earnings going in the right direction? It's difficult here because they've only been public for about a year plus, and it's been since the pandemic, so there's some weird adjustments there. But look at the revenue. Look at the Airbnb revenue here, going back from their first earnings report to now, right? There's some seasonality at play. Again, it's kind of hard to compare, but I'm comparing Q4 to Q4. Going in the right direction, right? 859 million in Q4 of 2020 to 1.5 billion Q4 last year. You like that? Let's go to the overview tab. It is expensive. Let's not kid ourselves. This is an expensive stock. If I hadn't bought this 4 or 5 months ago, I don't know if I'd want to buy it now because the environment's changed. It's not cheap, though. Look at the price to earnings, 121. Look at the price to sales, 15. I can't sit here and tell you that this is a good buy right now. And I'm talking against my book a little bit, but look, they're profitable. What else jumps out to me here? They've got plenty of cash. They raised a bunch of cash during the pandemic. They got plenty of cash. So I guess it's mixed is what I'm saying. Because I own the stock, but it's still expensive. Could it go down to 100? Sure. Would I have to reassess at 130? Definitely. Do I like asking rhetorical questions? Yes.
Jay Rice asking what the PE is.
On Airbnb, it's it's over 100. I just pulled it up. It ain't cheap. Sorry. So, yeah, I don't know. T. Hoffy Hoff, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Joe Biden scheduled to speak. So, Matt P. Okay, Matt P is asking what about Bitcoin here. So we've talked about Bitcoin earlier on the show. Yeah, just to recap that conversation, Bitcoin does not trade like a hedge. If you are thinking Bitcoin is a hedge to geopolitical events, you are thinking wrong. And here's what I want to show. I want to show you something. Let's look at the QQQ. We did this morning on pre-market prep, but we'll do it again now. Let's look at the QQQ, and let's compare it. This is on Benzinga Pro. compared to Bitcoin. And Bitcoin's got a much greater beta, more volatile, so it's a little bit hard to see, but we're going to have to zoom in a little bit to kind of get a sense for the correlation. Oh, gosh, come on. There we go. Let's just zoom in. Okay. Again, it's hard. It's a little bit hard to see because of the volatility on Bitcoin, but you do see, if you look closely at the candles, you can see a correlation, right? When the Qs go up, Bitcoin goes up, and vice versa is also true. When the Qs go down, Bitcoin goes down. They move in the same direction. This moves with the rest of risk on assets like tech. That's the reality. Okay, Bitcoin does not appear to be a hedge right now for anything, frankly. People who say Bitcoin is a hedge are either waiting for the long-term trend to prove that out, or they're just wrong. I've been in the camp too. I've been saying, hey, long-term, maybe Bitcoin is a hedge, but it's getting harder and harder to say that. It just is.
Yeah, and I think
you can't ignore this correlation. I've tried to ignore it. I can't.
I think that was very clear at the onset of COVID, right? When it was clear we were heading into
great point.
When we were heading into a global pandemic. I mean, that is prime
let's pull that up. That's a great point. I want to show you that chart.
That is prime for the use case of a decentralized dollar. Governments around the world are going to be struggling. Inflation's going to go through the roof. And what did Bitcoin do? It just absolutely crashed. Granted, a year later it was at all-time high. 18 months later, but so was the market. So were the markets. Yeah, exactly. So I think just like
computers,
speculative growth tech stocks, Bitcoin's a measure of risk. How much risk are people willing to take on right now?
Sorry, guys. My computer is lagging hardcore here.
I like that, Hex Pony. That's a good idea. Do you guys think the market's going to go up or down when Biden speaks?
Here, I found that my computer's lagging because I'm running so much shit right now. But this is that Bitcoin chart in March 2020.
Yeah, so it went from 8,000 down to like what was Bitcoin's low right at the
low? On March 13th, it was 37,000. Sorry, wow. I'm used to saying 3,700.
Sheesh. I mean, that is, yeah. So that was to me like where Bitcoin lost its footing as a hedge. If you don't, like I said, that's a prime environment for the idea of Bitcoin as a hedge to shine, and it just shit the bed. Hex Pony said we should do a poll on if
all right,
positive or negative.
I'm doing a poll right now.
I was wrong yesterday. I thought we were going to get a rally into close, and we got the opposite. It's almost as if someone knew something. But I'm going positive again because everyone's just so doom and gloom that, and I don't think he's going to say like he's going to say we're going to help Ukraine out, but
I don't know. Again, we're not political minds here, but I don't know what you can do because there is no political capital in this country to be sending our troops anywhere. Frankly, I don't know. I don't know. That's the kind of thing. Like the way out of this, I feel like the ball is out of our hands. And when I say our, I mean the U.S. And that's what concerns me. Like I don't know what levers. We always talk about like levers and vulnerabilities here. I don't know what like as a business, but I don't know what levers we can pull. Sanctions. We did that already. Okay, some more sanctions? I don't know.
We'll do. Yeah, you're right. We shouldn't speculate. I wouldn't bet against there being some sort of small special ops. That's how we've been doing these things in the past like 20 years. It's not like full-fledged land war, but small kind of special ops.
Can anyone in the chat, because we got 2 streams on right now, can anyone in the chat and either chat please like help me understand? I'm trying to think of when the last time we had a major on the ground offensive like this. Involving a major world power.
Okay.
In Europe. Let's be specific. Right? There are always conflicts, armed conflicts in
Crimea. They were fighting in Crimea.
So 2014, right? That's the last time.
8
years ago, right? Yeah. I mean, I think that's it. And before that, gosh, I don't know, man. The thing that scares me is because this entire time it was all about the eastern border, and then what happens? They jump right over the eastern border. They go straight to the capital, right? So I don't know. I'm trying not to be overly doom and gloomy. Yeah, Mitch is saying the Balkan Wars of the 90s.
The Iraq War was in between there.
Yeah, I know, but that wasn't in Europe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, people seem to care more that it's in Europe. I don't know.
I mean, Benzinga has employees that are in Europe that are scared shitless right now, and I don't blame them. And that's part of why I'm in the mood that I'm in right now, because we work with people that are going to be affected by this. So it's a shitty situation. And part of me doesn't even want to talk about stocks, but part of me does. I'm very conflicted here today. This rally today is something else. It's something fierce, Aaron. I mean,
it's something fierce, you said?
Yeah. I mean,
well, let's and I agree with what you said earlier. I mean, too, it's like we got to see what goes on during Biden, but after that, it's really how we go into the close.
This is a daily chart of the SPY. I think it speaks volumes. And you can criticize the S&P for all you want for not being a true measure of things because it's so top heavy, but it is the most watched indicator. And it's top heavy because a handful of companies are way larger than everything else. And I think that's just the way the market is. So I still use the SPY as my main indicator. You can use the NASDAQ, you can use the Russell, you can use the Dow. I like the SPY. I like the S&P 500. And I mean, how low did we get here this morning? At least on the SPY, we got to 410. Lowest level since since May. I don't know.
DJ saying it's a dead cat bounce. For anyone out there wondering what that is, it's essentially when you're in a bear trend and a down market and you have a bounce that looks like, oh, this could be the reversal. Buyers are coming in, and nope, it's just kind of a fake out, and markets continue to move lower. I think we'll all be.
I take issue with the characterization of this market as a dead cat. Dead cat bounce refers to I'll show you dead cat bounce. Dead cat bounce is is ride, right? They report earnings next week. Come on, ride. Come on, computer. Function. There we go. Dead cat bounce is that in November on a ride. You go from Can
you give us a little zoom there?
A little zoom, yeah.
A little zoomy zoom.
These are all dead cat bounces, right? September, you get up to $8 in ride. November, you get up to $7. These are all dead cat bounces. That's a dead cat bounce. The S&P 500 is not I take issue with the characterization of the S&P being a dead cat.
I feel like the S&P is going to be very quiet over these next 35 minutes while I wait for Biden. But yeah, so if you're just joining us, Biden will be speaking at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. It's supposed to be 12:30. We've got two different streams going on right now. We've got one, I don't know, what time? So, okay, yeah, because we have a 1:30 guest on the show.
We have a 1 o'clock guest and a 1:30 guest.
So at some point, the streams will diverge.
Yes.
At 1:30, if you want to watch Biden, you'll be able to go there. But what we may do is after the 1:30 guest, if Biden is still speaking.
I think we may keep them going. We may keep both streams
Yeah, what
going.
I was going to say is we might pull up Biden on this one, too, after 1:30 and kind of just give commentary. But I don't think he's going to speak for that long. When he came out the other day, he also, whatever happened to presidents taking questions from the press pool?
I have to be honest with you, Aaron. I have not. I've been live I've been busy the last 3 times that Biden has spoken. So I haven't actually watched any of his speeches in the last couple of weeks, 1 2 weeks. So I don't know what he did or didn't say.
I'm trying to think. I guess maybe there were times, even in Obama's administration, where if something crazy was going on, he'd give his speech that was very standard, well-written, that didn't really say much, and then just walk off without answering any questions. I know we saw Trump do that too during a lot of the COVID press conferences, but I don't know. I'd love to be able for the people to ask Biden some questions right now.
Have they? I don't know.
Yesterday he walked, or it was either yesterday or the last time he spoke.
He just dips?
he beeline straight. And they do the thing where they're all yelling their questions, like he's gonna like turn around and answer one of them, which he's never gonna do. And it's like funny because it's like, well, at least I tried. I asked my question.
I don't know. Shit, what was I about to say just now? I had something to add, and oh right, I was going to say that. So our 2 p.m. show, the roadmap, we're not going to do that show today. So what we may do is just keep the stream going beyond 2 o'clock. I may bring Money Mitch on. I don't know. It's kind of a weird day right now. As I plug in my computer. So what we're going to do here in 4 minutes, we do try to keep things pretty light on this show, just for clarity. Okay, this is generally speaking a pretty light, pretty casual show. Every Thursday we do a trivia segment, which is fun. It's interactive trivia. You know, you can play along with us in the chat. And we give away some swag. My producer's saying he doesn't think it'll work. I see what you're saying, Ron. Yeah. Okay. So this is what's going to happen. We are going to be playing trivia on the Benzinga live YouTube stream. If you're watching the Joe Biden stream, you will not. I mean, you can play.
Spencer, this is the issue. Because we started the Biden stream after our Benzinga live, people on that stream, that's going to be the answers that get captured instead of this one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's the issue.
Oh, interesting. So people on the Biden stream will be able to play, and the people that are here will not?
Correct. Yeah.
Is that right? Oh my God. What a crazy day. Okay, so here's the situation, everyone. We're running 2 streams at the same time, and right now they're both showing me. Right. But they will diverge when the president speaks. Until then, this is what we'll do. I'm going to Slack the YouTube. I'm not Slack. I'm going to put the YouTube link to the Joe Biden stream into the chat for our main Benzinga live stream. There it is. No, the theme of today's trivia is not foreign affairs, but it should have been in hindsight. The theme is going to be short selling. We're going to bring on 2 guys from Trade Zero. They do a segment every week with us. We're going to do short selling trivia with Trade Zero. If you've never shorted a stock, you're going to get some real face time. If you have questions, get some real face time with the head of a brokerage, the CEO of Trade Zero, Dan Pipitone, and a guy who shorts stocks for a living. So that we're going to do that in a minute. So I just put the link to the Biden stream into the chat on the Benzinga live stream. If you're watching this stream if you're watching this show via our Joe Biden stream, this is how you play. It's very simple. We're going to bring questions up on the screen, and each response corresponds with a number, like number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Put the number of the answer in the chat, and that will register on our software. And at the end of the stream, we're going to tally up the winner. And we're going to give away some swag. And Trade Zero is also going to give away a free subscription to their pro membership, I believe. But let's bring on the guys from Trade Zero right now for their weekly spot. And this is going to be weird. I don't quite know how this is going to work out. We're 2 streams at the same time. But hey, we roll with it here at Benzinga. So it is time for our weekly zero hassle short selling segment with Trade Zero. Let's bring on Dan and Steven right now. Guys, how we doing? What's up?
Spencer, what's up, brother? What's up, Steve? How are you?
Oh, guys. Market's getting better, eh? Not really. The Ukraine-Russia stuff, it's pretty terrible situation, but micro caps are pretty good.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. So here's what we're going to do. Producer Rohan, can you please bring up our trivia screen? We've got 6 questions here about short selling, and we have some time in between each question to sort of talk about the question and the answer a little bit. So again, This is a weekly segment. If you hit the answer, the number of the corresponding answer, hit that in the chat. Put that in the chat, and it's going to tally it up automatically. And we're going to see who the winner is at the end. We're going to give away some free Benzinga swag. And Dan, I believe Shazzy said you guys are also going to give away a free
3 free months of the Pro platform, which is a $177 value. So we're excited about that. Looking to have the winner on board, get the platform free for the next 3 months, and go.
All right, here we go. Question 1. In order to short stocks, you need to open a margin account at your broker. Is it number 1, true, but only in the U.S.? Is it number 2, just straight true? Is it number 3, it depends on your broker? Or is it number 4, straight false? So again, just to repeat, because we're running 2 streams at the same time right now. Everyone in the Joe Biden stream, you're the ones that are playing. If you're answering the questions in the Benzinga live stream, go over to the other stream and put your answers there, and that's where the tally is going to happen. So the
Jeopardy
questions
music playing.
Jeopardy music playing, and I don't want to give away the answer before. There we go. Actually, no, the answers are set now, so we're computing. So the answer is true. You need a margin account at your broker. Dan, you're CEO of a broker. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yes. So with short selling, you're actually borrowing. And in order to borrow stuff, you need to have a margin account. And so margin positions, you can actually use leverage on, which is essentially you borrowing money to get into those positions. So to short a stock, that borrowing ability is needed.
There you go. Beautiful. Couldn't have said it better myself. And I'm loving the music now.
Yeah, here we go.
Let's keep this going. All right. Question 2. Let's bring question 2 up here right now. By the way, most people got that question right, but not everyone. Question 2. Short positions cannot be held overnight. 1, true. 2, false. You've got 25 seconds to get your answers in here. And then after we switch screens and the clock runs out, we will discuss. I'm going to give away the answer now, though.
This is fun, Spencer. I mean, this is very intense, too. The music is really, we feel like we're in a real legitimate contest here, folks.
I feel like we're on a legitimate game show right now.
Yeah, man. Survey says.
Who wants to be a millionaire, right?
Exactly, Steve. Exactly.
Exactly.
I'm playing for $32,000 now, and if I get this one right.
Steven, if you didn't know this, I would be alarmed because you short stocks for a living. So that would be alarming if you didn't know this. All right. So I think I can give away the answer, right? Producer Rohan, if the answers are locked, right? If you didn't answer by now, think you're done. Think you're locked out. The answer here is, of course, true. You can hold short positions overnight. Do either of you guys want to speak more about like what that entails or what that could entail?
Wouldn't it be false, Spencer?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. They cannot be held. You're right. False. I misread the question. Yes, false. They cannot be. It's false that they cannot be held. Double negative. It's positive. They can be held overnight. Thank you, Dan. Jeez, dear Lord.
Yeah. I'm studying for my Series 27 right now. So your Series 24 got to be. You got to really read the question all the way through.
I confused myself with that one, and I wrote the question. So.
Even better.
Yeah. All right. I'm bringing the music back. Producer Ron, can we get our music back on? Thank you. All right. Question number 3 here. Let's see if I can read it correctly this time. What are short locate fees? Number 1, the fee charged by the exchange to locate stocks to lend to the broker. Is it number 2, the fee charged by the company to lend out shares to short? Is it number 3, the fee charged by the buyer to lend shares to the seller? Or is it number 4, the fee charged by the broker to locate shares to lend to the trader? So who is charging? At issue here is really who is charging where does the locate fee come from? Does it come from the exchange, come from the company, come from the buyer, or come from the broker? That's what we need to figure out with this question.
I don't even know the answer to this. I just press the button and I get them.
Chat seems pretty convicted. Wow, I'm seeing a lot of 2s in the chat. A lot of 2s. 4, no?
For me, it's 4. The broker gets them. And
now I'm seeing some 4s. Now the 4s are coming in. Now the fours are coming in.
Like you don't contact the buyer and be like, oh, by the way, can I just do you mind if I take some of your long position and borrow it?
I'm seeing a couple of ones, a couple of twos, and a lot of fours. I don't see any threes here. No one seems to think, hey, there we go. Dan, can you elaborate for us, please?
Yes. So we have relationships with many different providers that have access to long shares that are being loaned out. And so we have we're pinging these providers in real time as folks request as folks request the ability to locate shares, and we're basically returning those rates that we've agreed to by nature of our relationship with these vendors, and show those rates to our end users who are looking to locate those shares. So it is us that are doing the charging by nature of relationships we have on the supply side.
Number 4, what is a short squeeze? When all of a stock's outstanding shares are currently sold short, when a stock that has been heavily shorted rises rapidly in price, when a stock gets shorted without a margin account, or when a stock collapses as more short sellers sell.
You've just reminded us I'm in a position right now, and I forgot about it. So I hope that's not in a short squeeze.
I would certainly hope
this is a great question too.
All right, I think so. We've transitioned on the screen here, so I think I can give away the answer now. I think the answer. I'm seeing a lot of twos.
It's gotta be two.
Do I see anything other than a 2? Chat's pretty convinced. This is going to be a tight race here for the winner. I don't know what's going to happen if we have a tie. But I am seeing a lot of 2s. So the answer, of course, is, as I switch screens here, number 2. We've all lived through this. If you've been in the markets for the last year plus, you've seen the AMC and the GameStop short squeeze. And Steven, have you ever been a part of one of those?
I've been in several. I generally just shut the computer down, walk out the door, and hope the price goes down.
That's also a strategy.
That's it. Yeah. That's it.
Just go to the shop, buy some beers, and just hope.
Yep. Short squeeze, bad for the shorts, good for the longs. That's the bottom line there. All right, we are down. Oh, that was question 4. I think we have 2 more questions here. This is my personal favorite. What is short interest? Is it the amount of people who want to short a stock? Is it the amount of people who are short a stock currently? Is it the amount of a stock's shares outstanding that are currently sold short? Or is it the amount of a stock's shares outstanding that are available to short? Get some new tunes up in here. I'm seeing some 2s. And again, if you're watching this in the Benzinga live stream, go to the other one, the Joe Biden. I'm seeing a 3. What are we seeing in the chat right now? I'm seeing a few 3s actually. I'm seeing a lot of 3s. Seeing a 4. The thing about short interest that can be confusing is it can be expressed multiple ways. It's mostly expressed as a percentage, correct, Dan? Oh wait, Dan, you're on mute.
That's correct. Yep. Usually, it expresses a percentage of the float.
Right. So, for example, and the correct answer is 3, the amount of the stock shares outstanding that are currently sold short. So, if you have 100 shares outstanding and 50 shares currently sold short, then you would have a short interest of 50%. Right? Because it's 50 out of the 100.
Exactly right. Yep.
Right. So, it's expressed as a percentage. The higher the percentage, the greater piece of the pie that is sold short is how I think.
And also, the more ripe for a short squeeze, as we saw with the GameStop AMCs, you had these hedge funds who were short, large percentages of the float. A little bit of buying activity makes the stock really rise quickly.
Great point. Last question here. What is a margin call besides a movie? Is it when your broker decides you have too much margin? Is it when the value of your margin account falls below your brokerage account? Is it when the value of your margin account falls below the minimum margin requirement? Or is it when the stock you're short falls to 0? I guess technically Maybe it could be more than one of these. I'm just not realizing that it could be more than one of these edges. No, margin calls are they're part of the business, right, Dan?
They are. Unfortunately, there are some minimum requirements we need to keep enforced, both regulatorily and also we have some house rules, and every broker does. So you should be well aware of what those are. And as we say the answer, I'll say a little bit more.
What is the minimum margin requirement at Trade Zero? You can give away the answer if you want.
Yeah, so the minimum margin requirement globally, well, at least if you're working with a U.S. broker, it's $2,000. You need to maintain $2,000. You also need to fill out a margin agreement. Now, because you're on margin, so for example, a $2,000 account can buy $4,000 worth of stock. And if you max out, you're at 50% equity and you're borrowing 50%. But if that stock goes against you and you go down to like 25% equity, well, you have 1,000 in the account and you're holding 4,000 in positions. As the stock moves down, you can get a margin call. So below 25%, firms are gonna issue a margin call to get your account equity up past 25% again.
Alex, you are our winner. The tie here goes to the fastest answer. So we had a big tie up top. Alex, you were the quickest. I love the buzzer. So Alex, here's what you do. Alex, email us. All right, I'm putting the email up on the screen. Email shows@benzinga.com. I will connect you to Trade Zero, and I will also get you hooked up with some free Benzinga swag, Alex. And please put like trivia in the subject so we know who you are and the trivia winner.
I would also say, Spence, for the other folks who did who got the 6 questions right out of 6, the Trade Zero promotion is open to you guys. So share your info with Spencer, and we'll be happy to honor that for you guys who hit it out of the park with the 6 out of 6.
Okay, Shelly, BNZNB, Christian, Gimme Boy, Jesse, and Daryl and Voodoo. The 7 of y'all. I think that's 7. Yes, the 7 of y'all. Email us, shows up in Benzinga, and we got the hookup to Trade Zero.
Yes.
Was there anything that we wanted to talk about today as it just pertains to just this market and shorting in general? If you have any questions in the chat, guys, it's not very often you get FaceTime with the CEO of a brokerage, which is what you have right now. And so ask away. But Dan or Steven, did you guys have anything you wanted to add?
There is a big bit of news that we are super excited about. Your boy Renato just wrote a nice article about us. So Trade Zero Canada has officially launched. So we're spreading the gospel of equal access on both the long and short side to our U.S. Customers, our international, and now specifically folks up in Canada who are looking to interact with the U.S. markets in this way. We're here, we're local in Toronto, and we are excited to be present in Canada and to be onboarding Canadian traders to want to long and short the U.S. markets.
Awesome. Wait, we have a few questions in the chat from Allie. Can I deposit to cover margin calls? And how long does a deposit reflect on, how long until that deposit reflects on the account? Great question, Allie.
Great question. So it depends on the margin call. It also depends on what is happening with the stock that you're potentially long or short. If it continues to go against you and it crosses the 15% threshold, then the broker is probably going to sell you out. And so getting the money in would satisfy the margin call, but it's not going to protect your position. If, however, the position remains consistent at around 24% and is not really moving, the broker's not going to take further action. They're going to give you the opportunity to deposit funds to take care of that call and keep you in the position.
David Smith is asking a question that I would like to address. At what point do naked shorts trigger margin calls? And David, just to be absolutely clear, naked shorting is very illegal. Very illegal. Dan, to your best of your knowledge, doesn't happen.
Well,
it's illegal.
Naked shorting, Spence, is just shorting a stock that you're not long, right? So it's just your net short. And there's no protection or coverage on that. So you're basically doing a short trade. If I'm understanding what
well, a naked short is when you haven't located it. You're shorting shares that haven't been located by the broker, which is not. I thought that's what.
So it depends. If the stock is easy to borrow, you can short. There's no locate requirement. If it's not, there's a locate requirement. And if you're working with a broker that has a system that's, checking for this stuff, they're not going to allow that short to go through if you don't have the locate in place prior to opening that short order.
Okay. Awesome. Guys, Dan Pipitone is the CEO of TradeZero, TradeZero US, TradeZero in Canada. Steven Johnson, you're in for an interesting go around here, because shorting stocks in a market with a major geopolitical conflict happening should be interesting. So thank you both, I guess, for joining us today. Do you guys have, Steven, do you have anything else you want to add just about how you're approaching the market right now?
No, not really. Just very nice to see. Was it INDO? Nice to see a good 100% GABA. Nice to see the small cap market coming back to life with some kind of A plus higher probability setups. We've had a quiet few weeks, so let's get excited to take advantage of some of the volatility now.
Volatility there is. That is for sure. Dan, Steven, a pleasure as always to have you both
Likewise,
on.
Spencer.
We'll have you back on again next week. Everyone that won, again, email, put it in the chat, shows@benzinga.com. We got the hookup for you. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Spence. This was fun. Be well.
Alrighty.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
All right, I'm going to keep the music on because, frankly, it's cheering me up. And I need to be cheered up today. Let's go back to the pro. By the way, everyone watching this, whether you're watching the main Benzinga live stream or the Joe Biden stream, I do want to add that this chart, this screen that I'm sharing, is called Benzinga Pro. It is our real-time news and research platform. We do offer a discount. I'm going to put the link up on the screen right now. Get 25% off. I'll put the link in the chat first, and then I'll put it up on the screen. So there it is. It's in one chat, and now it's in both chats. There we go. So check it out. 25% off Benzinga Pro. Let's just keep on. I can't move too far away from this chart right now. Frankly, I'm amazed. I am amazed. I mean, I heard what the stat there, the chart that Aaron showed at the top of the show. The markets in the past have bottomed when the missiles start flying, but I just don't think it's that easy. I really don't. I would be amazed. I would be really blown away if that was the bottom. If that low from this morning, if that's the low of this move. I'm not an expert on how the market trades during armed conflicts or wars or anything like that. But the old adage of the market hates uncertainty, this is peak uncertainty right now. And then we hadn't even spoken about the Fed, right? Does this take, 5 or more rate hikes off the table? Maybe, right? We're still going to get a rate hike here eventually, but that's a whole other wrench in the equation here. So I maintain my stance. Short term, I want no part of any longs. Long term, I am doing nothing. I'm selling nothing, and I am still working on my shopping list. I'm not buying anything now, but I'm working on my shopping list. And just to recap what's in it, it's a very, I have to actually write it down. I don't have my list written down anywhere, but I've got Shopify on the list. I've got Block/Square on the list. Those are the top 2 stocks on my list right now. I definitely need some other non-tech, frankly, because I'm pretty diversified broadly. I've got I'm diversified across the U.S. stock market, but all of the individual stocks I own I own a lot of growth. I own some cannabis stocks. I own Airbnb. I own a little bit of Disney, which I don't know what that is, frankly, if that's growth or what. But I could probably use some more staples, more defensive names. Speaking of defense and staples, let's pull Lockheed Martin today. 15-minute chart. Look at that. Straight down from the open. Very interesting trade. Lockheed's at the low of the day. Just about. Very interesting. I'm not going to pretend to understand this because I really don't. I don't know, guys. Totally confused here. And when I'm confused, I go hands off. Yeah, Aaron Bryan, do you want to show us what's on your shopping list? There we go. All right, Aaron's shopping list is Nvidia, Tesla, Airbnb, Shopify, Square. It's in the chat right now. Lemonade, Teladoc. You got a lot of growth in there, man. You got a lot of growth. Again, I don't know. Oh, and now Aaron Bree. Aaron Bree just had to step away, but he'll be back in a minute. He got sidetracked. He got co-opted by a client right now for a webinar or something like that. So he'll be back. And also, I want to add at 1:30, we're going to have our next guest. We're going to talk to, and I promise this is his real name because I looked it up. But Robert Machinist, Troika Media Group, at 1:30 in 8 minutes from now. So that's what's going to happen. So at 1:30, our streams very well may diverge. We're going to have Robert on the Benzinga live stream, and whenever Joe Biden starts speaking, we'll put him on the Joe Biden stream. And however long these streams are going to go is a mystery even to me. I do have to hop off at no later than 2:15. So I don't know. Guys, we're going to play it by ear today. It's one of those days. Let's get Lockheed Martin off the screen. Let's just go to my watch list of the overall market here. And what... You know what today really does? It really drives home the point that mega cap tech is everything. Or the only thing, right? As they go, so we all go, right? Like as Amazon and Facebook or Meta, whatever, and Apple and Tesla and Microsoft, as they all go, they're our driver. In terms of price, in terms of sentiment, obviously the geopolitical stuff, whatever is happening in Ukraine right now is the driver of sentiment, or the Fed. But in terms of driver of price, it's hard to argue that it's not the FANG names, right? The thing is there any way that things can get even worse? This is from Safkan in the chat. I think the new package of sanctions should be the end of the bear market for now. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this really was the bottom. The thing is, though, it's not as if this has been... It's not as if this is the only reason why we're down here. We've been having a rough go of it in the overall indexes for months, and for a lot of growth for over a year. So it's not as if this is the only thing weighing on the market. It's just the latest thing weighing on the market. You have this. You have the Fed. You have the fact that valuations got crazy a year ago. So I don't know. I'll be the first to admit I don't really know what to do, frankly. I think, because I've only been in the market for 7 years, and I'll be honest, I think this is probably the highest geopolitical tension-esque thing that I've experienced as an investor, right? Not gonna act like I know everything that I've been through this before, because I haven't. Maybe that's part of the problem, is I haven't been through this before. But again, I always go back to the fact that the S&P 500, broadly speaking, goes higher. That's what it does. That's why I own VU. I own VU and I own VEU. Those two things represent like 2/3 of my taxable account at Fidelity. VOO and VEU is where I have the vast majority of my money. And I'm not selling. I don't know if I have the guts to buy today, but I ain't selling jack. I'm selling all the short-term stuff, right? My BCRX swing trade, gone. Pound swing trade, gone. What about Facebook? Quantum is asking. I'm still just bearish the company. I'm just bearish the whole business. Like, yeah, it's having a great day, right? Open at the low, just like every other stock did this morning. But I and this is the downside of indexes. I own Facebook, right? Because I got the S&P 500, but I don't want to own Facebook. If I could avoid it, I would. I'm just bearish the business. They have to prove out an entirely. They're a company in transition right now. Buying dips hasn't worked for the last year. I mean, it's worked if you're willing to sell a day later or 2 days later. All right, let's try to keep the political shit in line, right? In the Joe Biden chat. I'm not going to pretend to know where the market's going, right? I really am not. Whether the SPY is going to 400, whether it's going to 500, I don't know. I've been in the camp that we're probably going to close the year lower than where we opened, but it's just going to be a chop fest, and I maintain that belief right now. It's alarming that you made it. Every time you make a new low of the year, that's alarming, right? And we did that this morning. Who knows? Maybe I am wrong. Maybe it was just a giant flush out this morning. I don't know. Either way, though, you never want to be the hero and buy on day one, right? Who wants to be the hero and buy day one? Not me. I'd much rather miss the bottom if it would mean being more sure. So maybe it's a good time to revisit what I did in how's Fonk? Yeah. Fonk was doing fine before. I don't know what it's doing today. It's moving with the rest of the market today. Again, I bought this off the new Formula One season catalyst and the new Netflix season of Drive to Survive catalyst. Still maintain that thesis, but again, I'm not buying anything new. If I didn't own this, I wouldn't buy it now. If I didn't already own it. It just, I don't know. Anyone own Alcoa? James wants to know. Nah, I need some more material. I have minimal exposure to materials, staples, utilities, basically all the non-sexy stuff, right? Utilities, energy. Yeah, I need more of that stuff. Like the only real estate exposure that I have besides whatever is in the S&P is SRVR. And that's like growth real estate. That's like technology real estate. It's not even like real estate. So I could probably get a little more diversified in terms of owning. I own some industrials. I own a small cap industrials fund. But I don't own any materials outside the S&P, outside of what the S&P gives me. Also, I'm curious, is anyone looking outside the US right now? Is anyone looking at foreign markets? I'd be very curious to get your guys' thoughts on that. I've got almost no, well, that's not almost no, that's not true. Outside of VEU, right, which I just pulled up before, which is, I want to say, 18% of my taxable account. I think it's around 18% of my taxable account. Outside of VEU, though, I've got no foreign exposure. I don't own any specific funds or country specific or any international stocks, frankly. I guess Franc kind of counts because it's in Europe mostly, but not really. Doesn't count. I'd be curious to get some ideas from the chat on the international front. VEU is just, all it is it's the all world stock. It's every stock market in the world just minus the US. That's why it says all world ex US there. So think of it as like all the global markets minus the United States. That's what VEU is. Check the Moscow. Okay, so what RSX, right, is your Russia ETF. I can't pull up exchange actual exchange data on here. Whoever asked that. It was Juan. Oh, wow. I mean, who wants to buy Russian equities now? Seriously? Not me. All right, not sure where my 130 guest is. Oh, I got you guys emails. Everyone that won trivia, I see some emails. All right, let me ping our 130 guest. Make sure he knows he's coming out with us today. Yeah, still waiting on Joe Biden. So as soon as he speaks, I'm gonna get taken off the Benzinga Live, the Joe Biden stream, and go back to Benzinga Live. That should be momentarily here. One second, guys. I'm just doing 4 things at once. Trying to focus on everything. So if Robert Machinist joins us, that'd be sweet. Would want to talk to him, but until that, Voodoo, who won trivia? Alex won trivia. We're all winners, though, deep down, right? I don't know. All right, Natty Gas. Someone just suggested Natty Gas. Yeah, that's what this is, right? That's what all this is about. I don't actually know. I mean, yeah, commodities are ripping right now. Look at every commodity fund. It's not just Natty Gas. It's not just oil. Look at the ags. Look at Moo. Commodities are... Well, that's not a great example. Wait, I think Moo owns equities. All right, that's a bad example. Sorry, guys. What are some actual commodity back ETFs besides like GLD and USO and UNG? I'm drawing a blank right now. I know Jay knows. I should know this, but I don't. That's how little attention I pay to commodities. I don't even know what the largest commodity-based ETFs are. Okay, you know what? This is great. I see our guest here. All right. So I'm going to turn the music off because it's nice but distracting. And our next and final guest of the day, going to bring him on right now, is Robert Machinist, who is the CEO of Troika Media Group, ticker TRKA. Get that guy up on the screen. There we go. And I'm going to give Robert the special intro. Bring him on Benzinga Live right now, the new special intro. Robert, welcome to Benzinga Live.
Good afternoon. How are you? Can you hear me?
I hear you and I see you. Everything is working. This is great. First off, before you even get to Troika, I had to go on your LinkedIn because I was like, is that his real name, Robert Machinist? I'll be damned.
Yeah,
it's a real name.
It was a gift from the immigration board to my great grandfather, who sold machines in Eastern Europe before he emigrated to America, and his great knowledge of one English word was machina. And our real family name was Stifelman. So go figure.
Listen, man, that's how I got my last name. My last name is Israel. I got it the same way. Oh, you from Israel? All right, that's your name now. Done. Next. So it's kind of how it happens.
Exactly. I've tried to do things during the course of my career that take advantage of the name machinist, but that's beside the point. I've been
So tell us about Troika Media, because this is an interesting company.
We are a leading international specialty brand management business, and implementation business and experiential business, that we took public roughly 10 and a half months ago. And we operate between London, New York, and Los Angeles. We have an extraordinary list of clients, particularly in the sports, esports, and betting space, ranging from, if you watched the Super Bowl the other day, and we represent SoFi Stadium and the LA Rams, and did the programming and all the program management of the Oculus, which is the giant scoreboard system in the center of the stadium. As a result of that work, we were originally awarded the game ball by the LA Rams when they opened a year and a half ago. We've now done the same thing for the Las Vegas Raiders, and we work for a number of other teams, including the Carolina Panthers, and are designing like systems now for some of the major stadiums around the United States. At the same time,
so that's the core business right there.
Well, no, we're really in the branding, advising, and development business at the C-suite level for many, many different companies, ranging from CNN to CBS Sports, NBC Sports, the Big Ten, the Pac-12. We represent the PGA in developing all their long-term C-suite based strategy, et cetera, as well as some more conventional consumer products related companies. And we do both experiential, direct marketing aspects of this, as well as core branding work.
And the reason we're having you on today, though, is because you guys had some news this morning. You announced an acquisition, right?
We announced a very substantial acquisition. We are a company that currently is operating at about a $40 to $45 million run rate, which is getting close to our pre-pandemic level of back to our pre-pandemic level of operations. This morning, we announced the acquisition of Converge Direct, which is a very large performance-based marketing company headquartered between Bedford, New York, and New York City. That's doing about $300 million in revenue, making $23 million of EBITDA, which will make our consolidated business for fiscal 22 about $350 million in revenue and well north of 23 million of consolidated EBITDA.
What does it mean? What does it mean as far as the business goes, though?
What it really is we are doing core branding work for major corporate clients around the United States and internationally. We provide not only the strategic branding work that accompanies that, but we also do experiential work. We do digital realization. We have an NFT related business. So we're using NFTs as just one of the other technologies that allows our clients to reach their consumers. And this acquisition affords us an extraordinary opportunity to extend into a much broader performance-based marketing interaction, taking advantage of our branding relationships. Converge is a 15-plus-year-old company, very strong history with key clients like AT&T and others, and we have no client overlap. And this business allows us to create a product extension far down into the consumer interaction line. So it will dramatically improve our revenue and dramatically improve our EBITDA. The transaction is highly accretive. We have committed financing for the transaction for the vast majority of the deal, and the selling shareholders of Converge are taking substantial shares in Troika as part of their commitment to the transaction, and the two senior managers of the company will be taking active operating roles in our business post-acquisition as we close this over the next week or so.
Just what are you getting like from Converge with the deal? Like you're getting their client base, obviously, but like who does that entail?
Client base they are a leading what's called performance-based marketing business, where they're reaching out and doing direct consumer interaction based on consumers opting in to we are a major supplier of leads for the replacement window industry. As clients come in, we're paid effectively, I won't say on a bounty basis, but based on programmatic marketing, utilizing proprietary data management and software. We're able to get as many as 15 billion leads a year that we follow on a whole slew of different industries. But the home improvement business is a very significant one for which we do many verticals in that arena through these Converge assets. We can use that same technology to create interactive performance-based marketing programs for many of our significant corporate clients as this business opportunity really unfolds. So we see an enormous operating leverage to utilize this technology coupled with our other digital technologies to enhance the performance side of our delivery of consumer interaction with our key branding clients.
So what I guess like looking ahead here, Robert, what is sort of
the Russian military has begun a brutal assault on the people of Ukraine without provocation, without justification, without necessity. This is a premeditated attack. Vladimir Putin has been planning this for months, as we've been saying all along. He moved more than 175,000 troops, military equipment, and positions along the Ukrainian border. He moved blood supplies into position and built a field hospital, which tells you all you need to know about his intentions all along. He rejected every good faith effort the United States and our allies and partners made to address our mutual security concerns through dialogue to avoid needless conflict and avert human suffering. For weeks, we have been warning that this would happen. And now it's unfolding largely as we predicted. In the past week, we've seen shelling increase in the Donbass, a region in eastern Ukraine controlled by Russian-backed separatists. The Russian government has perpetrated cyber attacks against Ukraine. We saw a staged political theater in Moscow, outlandish and baseless claims that Ukraine was about to invade and launch a war against Russia, that Ukraine was prepared to use chemical weapons, that Ukraine committed a genocide without any evidence. We saw a flagrant violation of international law in attempting to unilaterally create two new so-called republics on sovereign Ukrainian territory. And at the very moment that the United Nations Security Council was meeting to stand up for Ukraine's sovereignty, to stave off invasion, Putin declared his war. Within moments, missile strikes began to fall on historic cities across Ukraine. Then came the air raids, followed by tanks and troops rolling in. We've been transparent with the world. We've shared declassified evidence about Russia's plans and cyber attacks and false pretexts so that there could be no confusion or cover-up about what Putin was doing. Putin is the aggressor. Putin chose this war, and now he and his country will bear the consequences. Today, I'm authorizing additional strong sanctions and new limitations on what can be exported to Russia. This is going to impose severe cost on the Russian economy, both immediately and over time. We have purposely designed these sanctions to maximize the long-term impact on Russia and to minimize the impact on the United States and our allies. I want to be clear, the United States is not doing this alone. For months, we've been building a coalition of partners representing well more than half the global economy. 27 members of the European Union, including France, Germany, Italy, as well as the United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and many others, to amplify the joint impact of our response. I just spoke with the G7 leaders this morning, and we're in full and total agreement. We will limit Russia's ability to do business in dollars, euros, pounds, and yen to be part of the global economy. We'll limit their ability to do that. We're going to stunt the ability to finance and grow the Russian military. We're going to impose major, and we're going to impair their ability to compete in high-tech 21st century economy. We've already seen the impact of our actions on Russia's currency and the ruble, which early today hit its weakest level ever in history. The Russia stock market plunged today. The Russian government borrowing rate spiked by over 15%. In today's actions, we've now sanctioned Russian banks that together hold around $1 trillion in assets. We've cut off Russia's largest bank, a bank that holds more than 1/3 of Russia's banking assets by itself, cut it off from the U.S. financial system. And today, we're also blocking 4 more major banks. That means every asset they have in America will be frozen. This includes VTB, the second largest bank in Russia, which has $250 billion in assets. As promised, we're also adding the names to the list of Russian elites and their family members that we're sanctioning as well. As I said on Tuesday, these are people who personally gain from the Kremlin's policies, and they should share in the pain. We will keep up this drumbeat of those designations against corrupt billionaires in the days ahead. On Tuesday, we stopped the Russian government from raising money from U.S. or European investors. Now we're going to apply the same restrictions to Russia's largest state-owned enterprises, companies with assets that exceed $1.4 trillion. Some of the most powerful impacts of our actions will come over time as we squeeze Russia's access to finances and technology for strategic sectors of its economy and degrade its industrial capacity for years to come. Between our actions and those of our allies and partners, we estimate that we'll cut off more than half of Russia's high-tech imports. It will strike a blow to their ability to continue to modernize their military. It'll degrade their aerospace industry, including their space program. It'll hurt their ability to build ships, reducing their ability to compete economically. And it will be a major hit to Putin's long-term strategic ambitions. And we're preparing to do more. In addition to the economic penalties we're imposing, we're also taking steps to defend our NATO allies, particularly in the East. Tomorrow, NATO will convene a summit. We'll be there to bring together the leaders of 30 allied nations and close partners to affirm our solidarity and to map out the next steps we will take to further strengthen all aspects of our NATO alliance. Although we provided over $650 million in defensive assistance to Ukraine just last year, let me say it again. Our forces are not and will not be engaged in the conflict with Russia in Ukraine. Our forces are not going to Europe to fight in Ukraine, but to defend our NATO allies and reassure those allies in the East. As I made crystal clear, the United States will defend every inch of NATO territory with the full force of American power. And the good news is, NATO is more united and more determined than ever. There is no doubt that the United States and every NATO ally will meet our Article 5 commitments, which says an attack on one is an attack on all. Over the past few weeks, I ordered thousands of additional forces to Germany and Poland as part of our commitment to NATO. On Tuesday, in response to Russia's aggressive action, including its troop presence in Belarus and the Black Sea, I've authorized the deployment of ground and air forces already stationed in Europe to NATO's eastern flank allies, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, and Romania. Our allies have also been stepping up, adding the other allies, the rest of NATO, adding their own forces and capabilities to ensure collective defense. And today, within hours of Russia's unleashing its assault, NATO came together and authorized and activated an activation of response plans. This will enable NATO's high readiness forces to deploy and when and where they are needed to protect our NATO allies on the eastern boundaries of Europe. And now I'm authorizing additional U.S. force capabilities to deploy to Germany as part of NATO's response, including some of the U.S.-based forces that the Department of Defense placed on standby weeks ago. I've also spoken with Defense Secretary Austin and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Milley, about preparations for additional moves should they become necessary to protect our NATO allies and support the greatest military alliance in the history of the world, NATO. As we respond, my administration is using the tools, every tool at its disposal to protect American families and businesses from rising prices at the gas pump. You know, we're taking active steps to bring down the cost, and American oil and gas companies should not exploit this moment to hike their prices to raise profits. You know, in our sanctions package, we specifically designed to allow energy payments to continue. We are closely monitoring energy supplies for any disruption. We've been coordinating with major oil producing and consuming countries toward our common interest to secure global energy supplies. We are actively working with countries around the world to elevate collective release from the strategic petroleum reserves of major energy consuming countries. And the United States will release additional barrels of oil as conditions warrant. I know this is hard and that Americans are already hurting. I will do everything in my power to limit the pain the American people are feeling at the gas pump. This is critical to me. But this aggression cannot go unanswered. If it did, the consequences for America would be much worse. America stands up to bullies. We stand up for freedom. This is who we are. Let me also repeat the warning I made last week. If Russia pursues cyber attacks against our companies, our critical infrastructure, we are prepared to respond. For months, we've been working closely with the private sector to harden their cyber defenses, sharpen our ability to respond to Russian cyber attacks as well. I spoke last night to President Zelensky of Ukraine, and I assured him that the United States, together with our allies and partners in Europe, will support the Ukrainian people as they defend their country. We'll provide humanitarian relief to ease their suffering. And in the early days of this conflict, Russia propaganda outlets will keep trying to hide the truth and claim success for its military operation against a made-up threat. But history has shown, time and again, how swift gains in territory eventually give way to grinding occupations, acts of mass civil disobedience, and strategic dead ends. The next few weeks and months will be hard on the people of Ukraine. Putin has unleashed a great pain on them, but the Ukrainian people have known 30 years of independence. They've repeatedly shown that they will not tolerate anyone who tries to take their country backwards. This is a dangerous moment for all of Europe, for the freedom around the world. Putin has committed an assault on the very principles that uphold the global peace. But now, the entire world sees clearly what Putin and his Kremlin allies are really all about. This was never about a genuine security concerns on their part. It was always about naked aggression, about Putin's desire for empire by any means necessary, by bullying Russia's neighbors through coercion and corruption, by changing borders by force, and ultimately by choosing a war without a cause. Putin's actions betray his sinister vision for the future of our world, one where nations take what they want by force. But it is a vision that the United States and freedom-loving nations everywhere will oppose with every tool of our considerable power. The United States and our allies and partners will emerge from this stronger, more united, more determined, and more purposeful. And Putin's aggression against Ukraine will end up costing Russia dearly, economically and strategically. We will make sure of that. Putin will be a pariah on the international stage. Any nation that countenances Russia's naked aggression against Ukraine will be stained by association. When the history of this era is written, Putin's choice to make a totally unjustifiable war on Ukraine will have left Russia weaker and the rest of the world stronger. Liberty, democracy, human dignity, these are the forces far more powerful than fear and oppression. They cannot be extinguished by tyrants like Putin and his armies. They cannot be erased by from people's hearts and hopes by any amount of violence and intimidation. They endure. In the contest between democracy and autocracy, between sovereignty and subjugation, make no mistake, freedom will prevail. God bless the people of a free and democratic Ukraine, and may God protect our troops.
Mr. President.
Associated Press, Zeke.
Speak with President Putin at this point, and what interactions have you had with the Russian government?
I heard the first part. Do I have any plans to speak with Putin at this point, and what?
What communications have you had with the Kremlin as far as military operations in Ukraine and making sure this does not spiral into a larger conflict?
Well, it's a large conflict already. The way we're going to ensure it's not going to aspire to a larger conflict is by providing all the forces needed in the Eastern European nations that are members of NATO. NATO is more united than it's ever been, and I have no plans to talk with Putin. Wall Street Journal, Tarina.
Mr. President, you didn't mention SWIFT in your sanctions that you announced. Is there a reason why the U.S. Isn't doing that? Is there a disagreement among allies regarding SWIFT and whether Russia should be allowed to be a part of it?
The sanctions that we've proposed on all their banks have equal consequence, maybe more consequence than SWIFT, number one. Number two, it is always an option, but right now that's not the position that the rest of Europe wishes to take. Cecilia Vega, ABC.
Sir, sanctions clearly have not been enough to deter Vladimir Putin to this point. What is going to stop him? How and when does this end? And do you see him trying to go beyond Ukraine? And a second question I'll just give to you now. This statement that he gave last night, the threat that he gave, the West will face consequences greater than any you have faced in history. Is he threatening a nuclear strike?
I have no idea what he's threatening. I know what he has done, number one. Number two, no one expected the sanctions to prevent anything from happening. It has to show, this is going to take time, and we have to show resolve so he knows what's coming. And so the people of Russia know what he's brought on them. That's what this is all about. This is going to take time. It's not going to occur. He's going to say, oh my God, these sanctions are coming. I'm going to stand down. He's going to test the resolve of the West to see if we stay together, and we will. We will, and it will impose significant costs on him.
Will he go beyond Ukraine, sir? Do you see him going beyond?
Yes.
Two topics, just really quick. First, markets are down and gas prices are up. I know you always stress the difference between Wall Street and Main Street, but everybody seems to be in for some economic pain. How economically painful is it going to get for people in this country? And I do have one more question.
First of all, there's no doubt that when a major nuclear power attacks and invades another country, that the world is going to respond, and markets can respond all over the world. So there's no doubt about that, number one. Number two, the notion that this is going to last for a long time is highly unlikely as long as we continue to stay resolved in imposing the sanctions we're going to impose on Russia, period. What's the next question? I'm sorry.
The next question is, did you underestimate Putin? And would you still describe him the way that you did in the summer as a worthy adversary?
At the time, I made it clear as an adversary, and I said he was worthy. I didn't underestimate him. And I've read most of everything he's written. Did you read? I shouldn't. I'm not being a wise guy. You heard the speech he made, almost an hour's worth of speeches, why he was going into Ukraine. He has much larger ambitions in Ukraine. He wants to, in fact, reestablish the former Soviet Union. That's what this is about. And I think that his ambitions are completely contrary to the place where the rest of the world has arrived.
You're confident that these devastating sanctions are going to be as devastating as Russian missiles and bullets and tanks?
Yes, Russian bullets, missiles, and tanks in Ukraine. Yes, I am.
Thank you, President Biden. If sanctions cannot stop President Putin, what penalty can?
I didn't say sanctions couldn't stop him.
You've been talking about the threat of these sanctions for several weeks now.
Yes, but the threat of the sanctions and imposing the sanctions and seeing the effect of the sanctions are two different things. They're two different things. And he's going to begin to see the effect of the sanctions.
And what will that do? How will that change his mindset here, given he's
because
attacking
it will so
Ukraine
weaken his country that he'll have to make a very, very difficult choices of whether to continue to move toward being a second-rate power or, in fact, respond.
You said in recent weeks that big nations cannot bluff when it comes to something like this. You recently said that the idea of personally sanctioning President Putin was on the table. Is that a step that you're prepared to take? And if not,
it's not a bluff, it's on the table.
Sanctioning President Putin?
Yes.
Why not sanction him today, sir? Mr. President? Why not sanction him today, sir?
Mr. President, if I can, you detailed some severe and swift new sanctions today and said the impact it will have over time. But given the full-scale invasion, given that you're not pursuing disconnecting Russia from what's called SWIFT, the international banking system, or other sanctions at your disposal, respectfully, sir, what more are you waiting for?
Specifically, with the sanctions we've imposed exceed SWIFT. The sanctions we imposed exceed anything that's ever been done. The sanctions we imposed have generated 2/3 of the world joining us. They are profound sanctions. Let's have a conversation in another month or so to see if they're working. Yes.
Can I ask you about Zelensky? Sir, you spoke to Vladimir Zelensky yesterday, sir.
What's the risk that we are watching the beginning of another Cold War, and is there now a complete rupture in U.S. and Russian relations?
There is a complete rupture right now in U.S.-Russian relations if they continue on this path that they're on. And in terms of a Cold War, that depends. You have the vast majority of the rest of the world in total opposition to what he's doing, from Asia to South America to Europe to around the world. And so it's going to be a cold day for Russia. The idea, you don't see a whole lot of people coming to his defense.
And are you, if I could follow up, sir, are you urging China to help isolate Russia? Are you urging China to help isolate Russia?
I'm not prepared to comment on that at the moment. Wait, no. Yeah. No. He's had his hand up a long time.
Thank you, Mr. President. How concerned are you that Putin wants to go beyond Ukraine into other countries, and the U.S. will have to get involved if he moves into NATO countries?
Well, if he did move into NATO countries, he will be involved. We will be involved. The only thing that I'm convinced of is if we don't stop now, he'll be emboldened. If we don't move against him now with these significant sanctions, he will be emboldened. Look, well, anyway.
And can you talk anything more about your conversation? Mr. President.
Why not say something directly to them? Defense partner for the sir.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Sir, India, which is a major defense partner of the United States, is India fully with you on the issue of Ukraine and Russia?
Does the Defense Department of the United States?
So India is one of your major defense partners. Is India fully in sync with United States on Russia?
We're in consultation with India today. We haven't resolved that completely.
One more question.
Okay, thank you all very much. Thank you.